Hello, MMA fans. Oh, why am I wearing this? You may hear the
Powering
headset.
off.
There you go. Turning off. Why am I wearing that? I don't need audio for this particular conversation. So it is UFC Fight Night time. Islam Makhachev, Bobby Green. A fight that maybe is a little bit more hype than I think it should be, just because Bobby Green's getting a lot of love lately. And don't get me wrong. Ooh, sneeze. Bobby Green deserves all the love. I mean, the man has been a absolute veteran of MMA. He's overcome so much in his life. He is truly a success story, no matter how you look at it. And that's phenomenal. And I am so happy to see him getting a main event. But that doesn't override the fact that I don't really see the fight itself as a supremely good one. Bobby Green is more of a question for Makhachev than most of his UFC run, if we're being completely honest. Let me have a quick look here. Dan Hooker, Thiago Moises, Drew Dober, David Ramos, Armin Saryukian. Saryukian, I would say, is like a similar level of test. T-Bow, Cajun Johnson, Nick Lentz, Chris Wade, Leo Kuntz, Adriano Martinez. So, I mean, it's an interesting challenge because of that list, the only one that I would put on par in terms of like able to do anything in the wrestling exchanges would be Saryukian. And then from a stand-up level, of course, someone like a Dan Hooker probably asks a few more questions than Bobby Green, but with a noted physicality issue in terms of the clinch and the takedown game, which Bobby Green doesn't have. So, I mean, it's interesting. But the thing is like, we've seen Bobby Green lose to wrestlers before. He doesn't have dynamic fight-changing power. Which is why, despite his acumen as a striker, he doesn't have a lot of finishes. I mean, he has the knockout of Al Quinta recently, obviously a big deal. But I mean, beside from that, his UFC wins are all by decision until you go back to the James Krause fight, which I didn't watch because it's back in 2013. I'm not sure how relevant it would be. But I also saw someone on Twitter talk about there was a bunch of low blows in that fight. I don't have a solid memory of the fight. I'm not going to comment on it, but apparently there's some weird stuff there. And then he submitted Jacob Volkman, which, for a guy as good of a grappler and good a control guy as he is, Volkman has a number of submission losses. Like, it's been how you beat Jacob Volkman, if we're being completely honest. Submitted by Martin Campman, submitted by Paul Sass, submitted by Bobby Green, submitted by, I want to say TJ O'Brien submitted him as well. It's not on here though. Submitted by Ben Saunders. So like, despite going the distance with Paulo Tiago somehow, as well as Luis Firmino, like that's how you've been beating Volkman historically. The lack of the dynamic power, fight-changing power is a problem. I see Makhachev being able to pressure him. I see him being able to get takedowns. Bobby Green, very, very hard to finish. Not sure if he can. But if he doesn't finish him, I also see Bobby Green losing a close decision, because that's something Bobby Green's also known for. He's got the young veterans problem where he doesn't necessarily put stamps on rounds, which, again, goes back to the lack of dynamic, fight-changing striking ability. So, yeah, you have to take Makhachev in this fight. Will I be cheering for Bobby Green? Absolutely. You put Bobby Green in there with just about anyone, I'm going to cheer for him. But I also can't be blinded to the fact that this is a matchup that Makhachev should be able to win. Misha Cirkunov, Wellington Turman. I have always been a big Misha Cirkunov booster. Ever since he came to the UFC, basically. And that's bitten me a number of times because, you know, most recently, I thought he'd beat Krzysztof Jotko, and he didn't. I thought he'd beat Ryan Spann, and he didn't. I thought he'd beat Johnny Walker, and he didn't. Now, in fairness, Walker Spawn, okay, like those are knockout artists. That's fine. Those losses have more to do with him being kind of fragile in the chin area. Uzdemir. I mean, he's not without good wins. When he came into the UFC, you know, he beat Daniel Jolly, beat Alex Nicholson. Those are not great. Then he beat Ion Kutalaba and Nikita Krylov, which at the time didn't seem like big achievements. Kutalaba, I believe, was making his debut. I could be mistaken on that. Ion Kutalaba. Yes, that was his first fight in the UFC and his first big fight in general. But we know he turned into a pretty good fighter, and he was a good fighter at the time. So that's aged very, very well. And the same with Krylov, who had been in the UFC for a bit. I'm sorry, I have like a need to sneeze again. But was kind of a guy who crumbled against high-level opposition. So, I mean, those two wins have probably aged a little bit better. Beat Jimmy Crute relatively recently. That's a good win. But he does tend to fight down to competition at times and not make the best decisions. And he is fragile. That being said, Turman's not a big puncher. He's a guy who made his bones on the Brazilian scene as being the jiu-jitsu guy who could actually wrestle. Serkinov should be a more physical fighter in the clinch, should be a better wrestler, should be a better striker. So I got to pick Serkinov, even though he's let me down a number of times before. So we'll go with Serkinov by decision. Priscilla Cachoeira, Jeon Kim. This is another one where, like, the Priscilla Cachoeira negative feelings I have are always kind of like a thing. For those who are unaware, she was accused, and I have no idea where this stands, of beating her girlfriend, domestic abuse case, and of doing cocaine and marijuana. And I have no idea if she's guilty. I just always found her defense to be terrible. And a lot of people bought into it, which was, well, I'm tested by USADA, so I can't possibly be doing cocaine. I can't possibly be doing weed. And therefore, you're lying about the domestic violence. The problem is that USADA has, in the past, made it very clear that out of competition, they don't test for cocaine. There was the famous John Jones popping tested positive for cocaine, and they apologized to him because they weren't supposed to test for it, leading to the whole Phil Davis, so you're saying, I can do cocaine interview, which was gold. So, I mean, great. And obviously, the number of MMA fighters who smoke marijuana is exceptionally high. So the argument doesn't hold water. I'm not saying Cachoeira is guilty or innocent. I don't think we'll ever get an answer. Brazil and LGBTQ rights are not great, so I'm not sure how serious this case will ever be taken. I'm just saying the logic of her defense was terrible. I would think, on paper, part of my brain is like, okay, Cachoeira is not good as a fighter. This is ignoring the whole person point of view. But when she's been able to establish physical dominance, Gina Vazani, Shayna Dobson, she has been able to win. People who have beaten her, Valentina Shevchenko, Jillian Robertson, Molly McCann, and Luana Carolina, are all people who can out-grapple her, except maybe Carolina, and are probably stronger, except for McCann, in the clinch. And I'm not entirely sure that Jeon Kim is stronger in the clinch or able to out-grapple her. Because I don't know. I'm sorry about the sniffling. My apologies. I don't know what's going on. Because Kim's career, it's weird. I mean, there's a win over Justine Kish in there, which you would think would indicate this was going to be a win, because Kish is kind of a better version of Cachoeira. And her losses are all pretty good. Lucy Pudilova is massive for the weight class at the time. Was that at 135? That was at 135. Okay, no, that explains that. I'm trying to figure out how you even end up fighting. How Kim ended up even fighting Pudilova. And then you losses to Antonia Shevchenko, who, while not great, is at least has some tricks and some savvy and some diversity. There we go, to her game. And Alexa Grasso and Molly McCann. McCann, who's already beaten Cachoeira, and Grasso is a way better physical and technical fighter. So, I mean, it's kind of weird. I've not seen Kim lose to this level of competition, but I've not seen Cachoeira lose this level of competition either. I will go with Jeon Kim, and I'm being somewhat convinced by the fact that she is actually the favorite in the betting odds, and Cachoeira gives me all kinds of bad vibes. And again, I'm not saying the legal questions about her are true or accurate or anything like that. Just the vibe I get off of her is concerning. She also apparently has 7 inches less of reach. Go figure. So I will go with Jeon Kim to win a decision because I do think she's the better striker. She's not a pushover in the clinch, and again, Cachoeira needs to dominate the clinch to win normally. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Jeon Kim. Armin Saryuki and Joel Alvarez. I'm always fascinated by this because I mean Alvarez is a 6'3" lightweight, although admittedly one that probably I think will end up at welterweight at some point because I think he has issues making that weight. He missed weight last time out. I think he missed weight once before that. 6'3", 77-inch reach. That's insane. But at the same time, I'm a big booster of Armin Saryuki, and he's very, very good. For those who are a little unfamiliar with him, because his UFC career has been a little under the radar, debuted against Islam Makhachev, lost that fight, but gave a really solid outing of himself, then beat Olivier Aubin-Mercier, beat Davi Hammels. I think the Hammels fight is, to a degree, the most like this fight than Frivola and Christos Giagos. The Ramos fight is I think relevant because Ramos is a similarly dynamic grappler to Alvarez, a guy who prioritizes submission and action over position and will do, for lack of a better term, kind of crazy shit on the ground. And that's certainly what Alvarez will do, but Alvarez also has a lot more reach and a lot more knockout power. So it's a much more dangerous version of that matchup. But it is one that he did win. The big question I have with Alvarez is always that he does not have a great ability to keep the fight off the mat. Now, he makes up for that by being wild and destructive on the ground. But submitting Joe Duffy and Alexander Kovalev in 2020, and then finishing Thiago Moises and Danilo Bellardo. Bellardio, pardon me. Doesn't make me think that he's ready for Saryukin. And the most similar fight that he's had is the Damir Ismagulov fight, which he did lose. So I think you know where I'm going with this. I'm picking Saryukin to win a decision. I'm expecting Alvarez to absolutely have moments and to hurt Saryukin at points and to threaten to finish the fight at points. But I think that he will be playing that kind of dynamic moments of the fight while Saryukin wins the rest of the fight via, I think, a better put together striking game and via a better wrestling game. So Armin Saryukin to take the win there. Gregory Rodriguez versus Armin Petrosian. I think Petrosian is going to be really, 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 really interesting as a fighter. I think he's a very good striker. I just think that Rodriguez is probably a little bit too much for a debut. Because I mean, 5 inches of reach advantage. He's taller. I don't want to say that he's bigger, but I suspect he is. Because like Petrosian's one of those guys who fought at 205 and weighed in at like 202 pounds, like sort of thing. I feel like he's small for the weight class. Not ridiculously so, but I think Rodriguez bigger. He's pretty well put together on the feet. He is a very good grappler. He's handled some pretty good topics. I mean, it just feels like it feels very weird because, I mean, with Petrosian, you've got a debutant, and Rodriguez, I want to say, is looking to win his third straight fight in the UFC. Yeah, he is. Because he finished Junyan Park and, of course, beat Dushko Todorovic. So, yeah, it does feel like a waste of Petrosian's debut, to be honest. I mean, obviously, if Petrosian wins, it's a big deal, and you're setting yourself up for a big payday. We're trying to build him. But you're also setting yourself up for cooling him off, because a lot of fighters don't really forget an early loss, or a lot of fans don't forget an early loss. I think that's kind of what, for example, puts Saryukian on kind of a lackluster path. So yeah, I'm going with Gregory Rodriguez by decision. He's a bit more of a positional grappler, so I think on the ground he'll just be more competent, or content, I should say, to hold Petrosian down, and I don't think he'll knock him out. I think Petrosian is a good enough striker not to fall victim to the admittedly very powerful striking game of Rodriguez, but it's somewhat predictable, somewhat clunky. I just don't see it catching someone who is a strike-first elite striker. So yeah, we'll go with Rodriguez by decision. Ignacio Bahamondes versus Zhu Rong. I wish I could give a way more detailed thought on this fight, but to me it comes down to Zhu Rong likes to fight from the outside. He's 5'9". Bahamondes is 6'3". Honestly, if Zhu Rong hadn't missed weight for his last fight, I would think like going down to featherweight would be a really, really good idea, because I think his style would work a lot better there. I'm gonna go with Bahamondes, even though I'm not honestly the biggest believer in Bahamondes, but he's big, and I'm also not a very big believer in Kazulu Vargas, and he did beat Zhu Rong. So, yeah, I'll go Bahamondes by decision, probably with a volume kickboxing affair. Josie and Nunes versus Romano Pasquale. Is this featherweight or is this bantamweight? Featherweight. Okay. I asked this because Nunes is ranked as a bantamweight, and at 5'2", really shouldn't be fighting at featherweight. And that's my big concern with this fight. Nunes has the physical expertise and actually a lot of pretty good technical aspects to her game that really make her a very good fighter. It's just, you're 5'2" and you're fighting at 135 and 145. There's always going to be questions there, because you're always going to be ridiculously shorter. Somehow has a longer reach than Pasquale, which is weird. I know Romano Pasquale does not have the longest arms in the world, but that's still stunning because Pasquale's 5'7". I'm not a huge believer in Romano Pasquale from what I've seen. When she's won and I've watched her fight, it's been against fighters that I just don't think are very good. So until I see her beat someone that I think is good, I can't really rate her skills. And this kind of makes this like the Nunes versus Bia Malecki fight a little bit, although she's not nearly as wooden as Bia Malecki. I want to make that quite clear. We'll go with Nunes to win by TKO. But, I mean, women's featherweight is weird. Terrence McKinney versus Fares Ziam. I'm always having a weird problem when it comes to Terrence McKinney, because there's ridiculous dynamicism, ridiculous danger, 7-second knockout, 17-second knockout, minute 12, 16-second knockout. This guy destroys people. But at the same time, I don't know how sustainable it is. I don't know what happens if he doesn't finish the guy. I mean, I kind of do, if we're being honest, because I think every time someone has survived, they've actually beaten him. Lost to Derek Minner. That was admittedly the first round. Lost to Sean Woodson. No shame in that. Lost to Tyrone Henderson. Be a leg injury. It's kind of a weird thing. Is like, he does have a third round win. Okay, this does make me feel a little bit better, but I have no idea who Brandon Todd is, so that's not really helping me. It's making me feel a little bit more comfortable. I don't know. I'm gonna go with McKinney. I've not been particularly enamored with Farziam. He's a pretty good technical fighter. I don't think he's bad by any means. I just also don't think he's necessarily great. And I do kind of question his durability because I've seen him get hurt. So I'm going to go with McKinney via first round stoppage because that's what Terrence McKinney does. Alejandro Perez versus Jonathan Martinez. I'm not a big believer in Jonathan Martinez, and I was a big believer in Alejandro Perez for a while, and then the heat kind of really fell off of him. For a while there, Perez looked like he was really going to turn himself into something pretty good. I want to say he won the first tough Latin America. He did. Okay, yeah, I am correct on that. And then had a pretty good run. Ian Wessel, Scott Jorgensen, Andre Sukumta, Giri Alcantara, very impressive win. Matthew Lopez, very impressive win. Eddie Wineland, and then kind of hit a brick wall in Cody Stamann and Yadong Song, and then lost to Johnny Eduardo, or beat Johnny Eduardo. And Martinez, I don't know. I've never been able to really see this guy's style as something I think is a long-term good prospect. And I mean, losses to guys like Andre Sukumta, Andre Uhl, and Davey Grant, I think have him hardcore ceilinged. He did beat Thomas Almeida, but it's kind of the ghost of Thomas Almeida. He did beat a pretty aged out Frankie Saenz. I'm going to go with Perez to win a decision because I feel that he has the more reliable style. Martinez is the better fight finisher. I think he's the better athlete. Interesting. Both these guys are rated at bantamweight, but this fight is happening at featherweight. I wonder what the deal with that is. I don't know, was this super late notice? Maybe replacement fighter. I am looking, and I don't have. Oh my lord! Ryan Spawn versus Ion Cutelaba was supposed to be on this card. Oh god, that would have been awesome. That would have been so much more fun. Why did that have to get taken from me? And also, Hannah Goldie pulled out of this fight card really late. That is disappointing. Anyways, let's move back onto things. Ramiz Brahimash versus Michael Gilmore. I just don't think Michael Gilmore is all that good. I don't think Brahima is particularly good either. But his win over Sasha Platnikov does suggest he has something. He did beat William Macaro, who's an okay fighter, and I assume he'll probably submit Michael Gilmore. Does Gilmore have like a history of submitted by Gilbert Urbina? I think that's probably an answer for me. Got out grappled by Andre Petrosky as well. So yeah, we'll go with the submission victory for Brahimas. And then Victor Altamirano versus Carlos Hernandez. This is a weird fight because I like what I see from both of these guys, but they've also fought guys who are not cans, but they're not UFC level. So this is kind of, for both guys, the biggest test of their career. And I don't really know how that's going to play out. I do trust Hernandez training at a VFS academy a lot more than I trust Altamirano's camp. which I assume is in Mexico. It's not listed on Tapology, and I've not seen an association with another gym. He's fighting out of Texas. Okay, so he's somewhere. Texas has got a lot of good gyms. So we'll go with Hernandez just off of trust of camp. Concerned, though, I do wonder if this is Hernandez's first time fighting an uphill battle reach-wise, because Altamirano has a 70.5-inch reach. He has a 67-inch reach, so 3.5 inches. That's not inconsiderable. Yeah, but I am sorry about the sniffling. That's about it. So that's the fight card. Am I super, super awesomely impressed with the card? Oh, Terrence McKinney trains at Pablo Alfonso's camp. That just kind of alarms me further. Anyways, that's the card. I do think there's some interesting stuff there, but I think there's very little in the way of like actual substance. Because I mean, you've got a substitute main event in there, and the co-main is Sergenov Turman, and then the third fight from the top is Cachoeira Kim. So I don't think even the UFC is looking at this to really set anything up. But I'm looking forward to Saryukin versus Alvarez. I'm looking forward to Rodriguez versus Petrosian. I'm looking forward to McKinney versus Ziam. Like there's things to look forward to. I just don't. It just really isn't setting much up. But that is fight nights right now. So there you go.